Martin Luther King Jr. is a towering figure in the history of the United States and the global struggle for human rights. Known primarily for his leadership in the American Civil Rights Movement, King advocated for racial equality and justice through nonviolent means. His powerful oratory, commitment to nonviolence, and unwavering dedication to justice have left an enduring legacy that continues to inspire movements for social change worldwide. This comprehensive account explores King's life, from his early years and education to his professional career, vision, tragic death, and the aftermath of his assassination. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929, in Atlanta, Georgia. His birth name was Michael King Jr., but his father, Michael King Sr., changed both his own name and his son's to Martin Luther in honor of the German Protestant reformer. King's family was deeply rooted in the church and community activism. His father served as pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, a position previously held by his father-in-law, A.D. Williams. King's mother, Alberta Williams King, was also influential in his early life, instilling in him a sense of self-worth and a commitment to education. Growing up in the Sweet Auburn district, a thriving African-American neighborhood in Atlanta, King experienced both the supportive environment of his community and the harsh realities of segregation. These early experiences shaped his awareness of racial injustice and his determination to fight against it. King was a bright and inquisitive child, showing an early interest in reading and a keen sense of justice. One of his earliest experiences with racial discrimination occurred when he was 6 years old. A white playmate told him that they could no longer play together because his parents had forbidden it due to King's race. This incident left a lasting impression on King and sparked his awareness of the racial inequalities that permeated American society. Despite these challenges, King excelled in school. He attended Booker T. Washington High School, where he was known for his academic prowess and oratorical skills. He skipped both the 9th and 12th grades, entering Morehouse College at the young age of 15. Morehouse College, an esteemed historically black college in Atlanta, played a pivotal role in King's intellectual and moral development. Under the mentorship of Dr. Benjamin Mays, the college president, and a profound influence on King, he was encouraged to view education as a means of social change. Dr. Mays was a passionate advocate for racial equality and social justice, and his teachings left a lasting impression on King. During his time at Morehouse, King explored various intellectual and philosophical ideas, developing a keen interest in social justice and the power of nonviolent protest. He graduated in 1948 with a Bachelor of Arts degree in sociology. King's experiences at Morehouse laid the foundation for his future activism, instilling in him a sense of purpose and direction. After Morehouse, King enrolled at Crozer Theological Seminary in Chester, Pennsylvania, where he furthered his theological studies. His time at Crozer was transformative, as he delved into a wide array of theological and philosophical texts, including the works of Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolent resistance profoundly influenced King and became a cornerstone of his own approach to civil rights activism. King excelled academically at Crozer, graduating in 1951 with a Bachelor of Divinity degree. He was elected president of the student body and delivered the valedictory address. His experiences at Crozer deepened his commitment to using religion as a force for social change and justice. King pursued his doctoral studies at Boston University, where he earned a PhD in systematic theology in 1955. His dissertation, a comparison of the conceptions of God in the thinking of Paul Tillich and Henry Nelson Wyman, showcased his ability to engage with complex theological ideas and synthesize different intellectual traditions. During his time in Boston, King met Coretta Scott, a talented musician and activist. They married in 1953 and had 4 children: Yolanda, Martin III, Dexter, and Bernice. Coretta was a steadfast partner in King's work, and her own commitment to social justice complemented his efforts. King's first major role in the civil rights movement came in 1955 when Rosa Parks, an African-American seamstress, was arrested for refusing to give up her bus seat to a white passenger in Montgomery, Alabama. This act of defiance sparked the Montgomery Bus Boycott, a pivotal event in the fight against segregation. As a young pastor at the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, King was chosen to lead the Montgomery Improvement Association, MIA, formed to oversee the boycott. His leadership, marked by eloquence and a steadfast commitment to nonviolence, was instrumental in sustaining the boycott for 381 days. Despite threats, arrests, and violence, King maintained the nonviolent discipline of the protesters, emphasizing dignity and resilience. The boycott ended successfully on December 20, 1956, following a Supreme Court ruling in Browder v. Gale that declared segregation on public buses unconstitutional. This victory not only desegregated Montgomery's buses, but also established King as a national leader in the civil rights movement, demonstrating the power of nonviolent resistance. In 1957, building on the success of the Montgomery Bus Boycott, King and other civil rights leaders founded the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC. The SCLC aimed to harness the organizing power of black churches to conduct nonviolent protests and civil rights activities across the South. King was elected president, and the organization quickly became a central force in the civil rights movement. Under King's leadership, the SCLC played a crucial role in numerous campaigns throughout the 1960s, advocating for desegregation, voting rights, and economic justice. Notable campaigns included the Albany Movement, the Birmingham Campaign, and the Selma to Montgomery marches. These campaigns highlighted the brutality of segregation and drew national attention to the civil rights movement. In 1963, civil rights leaders organized the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom to advocate for economic and racial justice. Held on August 28th, the march brought together over 250,000 people, making it one of the largest demonstrations in American history. The march aimed to pressure the government to pass civil rights legislation and promote equal opportunities in employment and education. The highlight of the march was Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I Have a Dream" speech, delivered from the steps of the Lincoln Memorial.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. Five score years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty, in the midst of a vast ocean of material problems. This nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We all need one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is a faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning, "My country, tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring, and if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. Not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring, and when this happens, when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spirit. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
In his speech, King articulated his vision of a racially integrated and harmonious America, where people would be judged by their character rather than the color of their skin. This speech, with its powerful imagery and profound message, became one of the defining moments of the civil rights movement and solidified King's place as a master orator and symbol of hope. The momentum generated by the March on Washington and other civil rights activities contributed to the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Signed into law by President Lyndon B. Johnson on July 2nd, the act outlawed discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. It also ended segregation in public places and banned employment discrimination, marking a significant victory for the civil rights movement. Another landmark achievement was the Voting Rights Act of 1965, aimed at eliminating barriers to voting for African Americans. Prompted by the violent events in Selma, Alabama, where peaceful protesters were brutally attacked by police during the Selma to Montgomery marches, the national outrage led to the passage of the act on August 6, 1965. This legislation prohibited racial discrimination in voting and significantly increased voter registration among African Americans. Martin Luther King Jr.'s vision extended beyond the immediate goals of the civil rights movement, encompassing a broad and profound aspiration for global harmony, equality, and justice. Central to his vision was the concept of the beloved community, a society based on justice, equal opportunity, and love for one's fellow human beings. He believed that such a community could be achieved through nonviolent struggle and collective action. Central to Martin Luther King Jr.'s vision was the concept of the beloved community, a society rooted in justice, equal opportunity, and love for one's fellow human beings. King believed that this ideal society could be realized through nonviolent struggle and collective action. He envisioned a world where all forms of discrimination, poverty, hunger, and homelessness would be eradicated, creating a community characterized by compassion, mutual respect, and shared prosperity. In the beloved community, justice was paramount. King argued that justice required not just the absence of overt discrimination, but the active presence of equality and fairness in all aspects of life. This included equal access to education, healthcare, employment, and housing. King's commitment to justice was also intertwined with his dedication to nonviolence. He believed that only through peaceful means could true justice be achieved, as violence would perpetuate a cycle of hatred and division. Equality of opportunity was another cornerstone of the beloved community. King envisioned a society where everyone, regardless of their background, had the same opportunities to succeed and thrive. This extended to economic, educational, and social opportunities, aiming to dismantle systemic barriers that disadvantaged certain groups, particularly African Americans. Love, particularly the concept of agape, or selfless, unconditional love, was the moral foundation of the beloved community. King argued that love and understanding were essential to overcoming prejudice and building a society where people cared for one another's well-being. This love was not merely sentimental, but a powerful force for social change, compelling individuals to act with empathy and solidarity. King's vision of the beloved community was not confined to the United States. He saw it as a global ideal, advocating for human rights and social justice worldwide. He believed that the principles of justice, equality, and love were universal and should guide interactions between all nations and peoples. King's advocacy extended to supporting movements for freedom and equality around the world, linking the struggle for civil rights in America to broader global struggles against oppression and injustice. In the later years of his life, King recognized that achieving racial equality was inextricably linked to addressing economic disparities. He expanded his focus to include economic justice, understanding that poverty and economic inequality affected people of all races and were significant barriers to true equality. To address these issues, King launched the Poor People's Campaign in 1968. This ambitious campaign aimed to unite people from different racial and economic backgrounds in a collective fight for economic justice and human rights. King envisioned the campaign as a movement that would demand better jobs, higher wages, and decent housing for all. He believed that by addressing economic inequalities, society could move closer to the realization of the beloved community. The Poor People's Campaign sought to highlight the systemic nature of poverty and to push for comprehensive solutions that included policy changes and greater social investment. King argued that a society that allowed poverty to persist was fundamentally unjust and failed to live up to its moral and democratic ideals. The campaign was a testament to King's broader vision of social justice that encompassed not only racial equality, but also economic fairness. On April 4, 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee, a tragedy that shocked the nation and the world. King was in Memphis to support the striking sanitation workers who were protesting against low wages and deplorable working conditions. The strike highlighted the economic injustices that King had increasingly focused on in the latter part of his life. King arrived in Memphis on April 3, 1968, and delivered his final speech, famously known as the "I've Been to the Mountaintop" speech, at the Mason Temple. In this speech, he reflected on the threats against his life and prophetically spoke of his mortality, expressing his unwavering commitment to the struggle for justice, despite the dangers. He concluded with a message of resilience and hope, stating, "I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we, as a people, will get to the promised land." The following day, while standing on the balcony of his room at the Lorraine Motel, King was struck by a bullet fired by James Earl Ray. He was rushed to St. Joseph's Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 7:05 p.m. The assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. triggered a wave of riots and unrest in cities across the United States, as grief and anger swept through the African American community and beyond. Martin Luther King Jr.'s life and work left an indelible mark on the United States and the world. As a charismatic leader, a masterful orator, and a dedicated advocate for nonviolence, King played a pivotal role in the American civil rights movement. His efforts led to significant legislative changes, including the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which dismantled institutionalized racial segregation and discrimination. King's vision of the beloved community and his unwavering commitment to nonviolent resistance continued to inspire movements for social justice globally. His philosophy emphasized the power of love and peaceful protest in achieving social change, a message that resonates with contemporary struggles against inequality and injustice. Despite his untimely death, King's legacy endures through the ongoing efforts of individuals and organizations dedicated to promoting his ideals. The Martin Luther King Jr. Center for Nonviolent Social Change, established by Coretta Scott King, preserves and advances his teachings. Additionally, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, celebrated annually on the third Monday of January, honors his contributions and serves as a reminder of the enduring struggle for equality and human rights. In conclusion, Martin Luther King Jr.'s life was a testament to the power of courage, conviction, and compassion in the face of adversity. His legacy remains a beacon of hope and a call to action for all who seek to build a more just and equitable world. As we reflect on his achievements and sacrifices, we are reminded of the enduring relevance of his message and the importance of continuing the fight for justice, peace, and equality for all. Thank you for watching the video. Hope you all liked it. Feel free to share your thoughts in comments section. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you will never miss any episode of our enthralling series.